Hi, thanks for having me here at AWE yet again. First time here virtually, but it's still exciting. Still excited to be part of this community and let everyone know really what's been happening with the AR cloud over the last year or so, and what's more importantly, what's next in the AR cloud. So I'm Matt Miesnieks. I am currently an advisor at Niantic, but up until a few weeks ago, I was the CEO and founder of a company called 6D.ai. We were a company that was building sort of advanced technology around really building the AR cloud. And I've been involved in this really since the beginning, right when, in the conversation where Ori came up with the term. And 6D is an AR cloud company from its inception. So I really wanted to take this opportunity because it's been a pretty eventful year when it comes to the AR cloud. And a lot has happened since this time last year. And I wanted just to run through a couple of things that we've seen, because a lot of stuff has been happening under the hood, beneath the surface of the AR cloud. And, one of the big things that we've seen, over the last year is that every major AR platform company, all of them have gone, all in on this AR cloud. A year ago, it was kind of a concept. It was still a concept. There was sort of working prototypes. Everyone sort of understood what it was. They understood the idea. But really, since we've seen all these, every company has got teams now of like tens of people, many tens of people growing, actively trying to grow up to the hundreds of people, trying to build out this digital model of the real world. So it's real, and it's almost it's done, or I'd say it's almost over. If anyone is out there thinking of starting a new AR cloud infrastructure company, it's probably too late. That ship has sailed. So that's really encouraging. It's really is going to happen, and it has. The amount of investment is validating that it has to happen. So the other thing that's really happened in the last year is I guess the rise of 3D, both 3D content and 3D understanding and tracking. Everything now is 3D. We've seen Apple has launched the iPad Pro with their LiDAR sensor. Things like Oculus Quest have coming along, that people understand, that you can just put a device on your face and it works in 3D space. And, the world has really shifted from 2D to 3D, and that's been great to sort of see come out of the labs as well and really be into products. And then obviously the last thing, which is, from my point of view and our team's point of view, by far the biggest thing that changed in the last year is that we sold 6D to Niantic. And, that was a pretty major, that is as major a decision as you can get as the founders of the company. And I want to explain a little bit, why we sold 6D to Niantic. So the why was, a big question. There was two questions: why sell, and then why sell to Niantic? Because when Victor and I started this company, we set out to build solve the hardest computer vision problems, to make it possible for developers to build apps that understand the 3D world. And we realized that you needed literally a 3D model of the entire world to do that. And so in 2 years, we solved that problem. From a science point of view, we solved that ability to capture a space on a regular phone, to build applications that are aware of that space. And, we signed up, thousands of developers and, several Fortune 500 companies that sort of validated the solution that our whole team had really been working on. So from that point of view, it was really, we had about what's next, what's needed to get to this next stage. And we realized that, to win the market, we needed to get to scale. To quite a significant level of scale, of course. And as we were really looking around at, talking to our customers, talking to developers, looking at the pieces of the ecosystem that weren't yet in place, whether they were developer tools or devices, whatever it was, we realized that, a VC-backed go-to-market strategy was not going to get to that scale fast enough. And we really need to, we felt it was going to be a far more aggressive approach to partner with someone who already had that scale in their devices and find a way to bring our technology to market and sort of work together, to achieve that. So it was all done, all that decision was made, and the decision to sort of sell to Niantic was all happened before COVID, so it definitely wasn't a factor in thinking about whether we wanted to sell the company. But it certainly, we're very thankful that, after this decision, knowing that we're, part of a larger company while there's so much chaos in the world right now, was, we're very, very lucky from that point of view. But it wasn't really the motivator for it. So what really helped us choose, who to work with, or who to partner with, and we had sort of counted up, I think we had 7 different companies, wanting to buy us, or all names everyone would know. And but what was interesting, the most interesting about Niantic, was that it had some characteristics that really stood out to us based on my experience over a decade or so in AR, and in particular the experience we had building 6D and actively working on these problems. And the first thing that we loved about Niantic was it's a pure play in AR. It only really does AR, and whether you debate whether Pokemon Go's AR experience really is real AR or not, that doesn't really matter when it comes to the user behavior, the company culture that's in place. Everything Niantic did was native to an AR way of thinking. And there were no products that you need to port across to AR and somehow need to make work. So that focus and that commitment and that culture, everything being AR-centric, was really important to us, and we were the same. Second thing that we liked was that Niantic's independent. They don't have another platform business to prop up. They're not trying to use AR to sell their ads. They're not trying to use AR to sell devices. They are AR, and that's all they do. And I've seen whenever a new medium comes into play, whether that new medium is the web or it's mobile, the winner, or at least one or two of the winners in that new world is a company that's native to that new medium. And that is what Niantic, that is Niantic, and 6D, again, we were the same. Thirdly, we really, values of the company really have always mattered to us at 6D. We were very early in explicitly defining our values, and we had the opportunity to meet John Hanke, from CEO of Niantic, and his leadership team even before 6D was incorporated, and discuss what we were doing, what we're thinking with them. And it was very clear, from the beginning that John was working very intentionally to make Niantic a company that was actually going to make the world a better place. Whether it was getting people outdoors and moving around, particularly young people and kids, helping people to have more awareness and more presence in the physical world, and just being, a real considered, respectful, and responsible approach to how data is captured and used, as part of these experiences. And so we had similar values, and similarly we had those values baked into our culture and our company right from the get-go. So, and I guess next thing that we loved was that Niantic has a vision. They're not just trying to be the Pokemon company. The vision of Niantic is pretty much the same vision that we have at 6D, which is to build this platform based on the real world that lots and lots of different applications and use cases are based upon. And that platform then will become the foundation of all new experiences on top of this new medium. So these, pretty much every pillar, that Niantic was built on was kind of exactly the same pillar that 6D was built on. And, we felt it was going to be a really good fit between our team and Niantic's team. But lastly, and probably most importantly, we realized that something that isn't really that obvious yet, and this is something I really want to get across today as an insight to share, is that if you think about building the AR cloud, you realize that it's a mirror world copy of the world, and that's a huge amount of data to scan, and you need to be able to capture these 3D reconstructions everywhere that people go. So vehicle fleets and drones and things, they can only take you to so many places. They definitely can't take you to the places that pedestrians go. And so that needs to be done using the phones, the devices that we already have in our pocket, the headsets we're going to wear in the future. But to get that to really to planet scale, it has to be crowdsourced. The Google Maps team is not going to come into my living room and map out my living room. It has to be done by me, and you have to do your place. So that crowdsource model works, but really for crowdsourcing to work, you need to have the mapping technology built inside an app, a camera-based app that millions and millions and millions of people are going to use. So if you think about it for 5 minutes or so, that much is pretty, not that hard to figure out. But there was a couple of unintuitive bits that were much, much harder to figure out. And what isn't obvious is that not only do you need millions of users of your camera-based app, but those millions of users need to be moving around, and they need to be in motion, and they need to be capturing scenes and from lots of different angles. And really that isn't something that the successful camera-based social apps today do. If you wanted to use one of those products to sort of try and build a map of a local landmark, you're going to end up with like 1 million photos, all of the same location. Everyone's going to take the best photo from the best spot. They're not going to just be walking around almost randomly capturing that place. Secondly, you need to have that trust with the users, that the contributions that they make to the global user experience are going to be respected and taken care of. And you need to wait for the users to determine what parts of the city matter to them, not someone centralized saying this is what matters. And ironically, this photo shows a statue, being the point of interest, but you almost need to have a type of a social graph, for people to be able to contribute what matters to them. And they need to feel safe, contributing their private spaces, their homes and their businesses, where we spend 80% of our time, probably 90% of our money. And that needs to be built into the platform, from the beginning. So what you end up with is really something, I don't know what the term is going to be, but it's something called like an AR social graph. And if you look at this video, this is actually live Pokemon Go players, scanning and opening their phone and playing the game in that place. So why I call this a social graph is that what Niantic has, and that nobody else does, none of the major platforms, doesn't matter how many users they've got, is they've got people going to the places that matter to them in their community. So it may not be the statue in the middle of the town. It might be like a laneway that connects two bars together. It might be the steps in front of the library where everyone gathers to wait. It could be just a particular corner of a large park or the school playground. And the people in those places know what those places are, and they're the ones that are going to be contributing the important places that matter. So in the same way that Facebook never knew who our friends are, and it was impossible for Facebook to sort of go through and tell, automatically build this graph of my friends. It needed me to select who my friends are and who I wanted to share with. And the same way that is going to happen for AR, in that it's going to be the users of these apps that need to have the trust of the platform, but then it's them that's going to choose and map the places that really matter. And those places, by definition, are going to be the places that AR apps need to run. So that's something that only Niantic has got, and only Niantic can do. So that was something that we realized that is going to be quite exciting. It's fundamental to this this AR cloud being built, and we feel like Niantic has got this amazing upside potential to sort of take advantage of the work that 6D had been doing and sort of really apply that not just to their large user base, but their large user base is exactly the right type of user base to make this stuff work. And so then thinking a little bit of all those kind of, product-based features of what's coming, one of the things that, I wanted to share a little bit in the time of God is, what's next technically for the AR cloud. we, just like AR and VR needed 6DoF tracking to be central, solved, the AR cloud needs a couple of things to be, really solved as well. So one thing I believe is two of the hardest problems, that are foundational for this AR cloud to work are, understanding the geometry of a scene, and also the visual position within the scene, and being able to find your location and orientation within like sub-centimeter accuracy, whether you've got GPS or not, indoors and outdoors. And those problems now are pretty much solved. They're solved in the same way that 6DoF tracking was solved about 2 years ago. And I believe that over the remainder of this year and next year, we'll start to see those solutions end up in consumer products that just work. With Google's starting to show some of that in Google Maps. We're starting to see geometry be captured pretty easily with some of the work 6D was doing, and sort of Apple's LiDAR stuff. So that's something, one thing over the next sort of year and a half that is coming soon. But what that then means is that the interesting science problems are now really going to be in semantically understanding that scene, not just here's a point cloud or here's a mesh of this place and I know exactly where I am. We're going to see three different types of work going on, and it'll happen in this order as well. The first will be semantic segmentation. And segmentation means that the system's able to figure out that this part of the reconstruction is actually a different thing to this part of the reconstruction. It doesn't really know what they are, but it knows that they're different things, and it splits the mesh up into 2 things, or 10 things, or how many things. Second thing we'll see after that is identification, semantic identification, labeling of things. It'll know that this part of the mesh is a chair and that part of the mesh is a dog. And that ability to kind of recognize and label things in 3D is coming, and that'll be a lot of sort of active research happening in that space. Then the last bit, which gets really interesting, is semantic prediction, and that's where the system can look at the video feed and the reconstruction that's going on, and say, oh, that part of the mesh is moving, and I know it's a person or some sort of character. I need to find a chair, for that person to go to. And that ability to predict what the person might do or what the bouncing ball might do, that's going to then give the applications the ability to respond in real time to the world. So those 3 things, I think, I guess the 2 things to look for in products are going to be, visual positioning, indoors, outdoors, wherever, and getting the mesh and the geometry of the scene for occlusion and physics and that sort of stuff. That's what we'll start to see in products next. And what we'll start to see in terms of research and demos and prototypes is going to be semantic segmentation, semantic identification and labeling, and then semantic prediction over the next couple of years. So all of those things, when we've got all of those, I think we'll have the foundation needed for developers to really be able to build smart apps where a Pokemon can be out running around. It can know that there's a tree, hide behind the tree. It can behave, the way you expect things in the real world to behave. And it's kind of exciting that it's coming and the investment's there, and we are going to see the AR cloud as a real thing come to life in the next couple of years. So that feels great, knowing where we were right at the beginning. So that's all I've got for my talk. I really excited to hear any questions anyone has. So I'll be here. I'll probably hand it over to you live after this video. And thank you for listening. Look forward to some questions. Bye.
Hey, and that was an amazing talk there here at the XR Enablement track of AWE Online 2020. Here with Matt Miesnieks, who just gave a really great talk on what's going to be necessary for the development and the evolution of some of these technologies and the work that he's doing with Niantic. So thank you so much for that talk.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, we don't have too much time for Q&A. There is quite a bit of conversation happening in the chat screen to the right of the video feed. So I do hope that you have a chance and opportunity to hang around and answer some of those questions. But if folks do want to get in touch with you off of the live stream chat app, how best can they get a hold of you?
Via my Twitter handle, which is just my name, Matt Miesnieks, MattMies. Yeah, there it is. So I'll be following that. I'll definitely respond, online on the chat session beside the live stream, but the Twitter back and forth can go on all day. So I love the harder, the more controversial, the more probing type questions are the good ones. So yeah, don't hold back.
Well, Twitter is the place for those kinds of conversations. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Matt. It was really cool having you here. I know I found it very interesting and learned a lot, and I'm looking forward to seeing what's next for you. So thanks very much.
Thanks, Josh.